themselves that talk about city business while they're at the party. We'll post a little notice about it. Okay.
Okay,
Okay. Cool.
great.
Okay, we're going to give rest of the council about 2 more minutes.
The other 3 attendees, I know I mentioned this to 2 of you, but just so everybody knows, once we get to your items, I'll promote you and we'll move forward from there. So first we're going to do the work session, then we'll get into the regular meeting. Thank you.
All right, we're just going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully we'll have enough council for our regular meeting to have a quorum. So with that, this is a work session with the City of Idaho Springs City Council. Tonight, we are going to get an update from our community planner and development. Jared's going to give us an update on kind of what the downtown master plan, what they came up with. So Jared, with that, I'll give you the reins. Go for it.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Before you this evening will be a short presentation on the input that the consultant team and the staff for the City of Idaho Springs has received regarding the draft downtown master plan document. So currently this is kind of the sorry, that's my dog found a squeaker. This is the schedule for the project, and as you can see, we're getting close to the end. We're on this late portion where we're looking for soon to have a final draft of the plan for adoption. So that will come before Planning Commission here this next week. I intend to receive the final draft document hopefully tomorrow, and then we will move into having that as a resolution for the City Council. Our goal is for December. So presentation of the draft plan. So we started on September 13th with our first, which was presented to the DIWG and the ERTF. And we went to Planning Commission a couple of times. On October 14th, we had a chamber event. And then on October 18th, there was a City Council work session. And now here's the second work session for the City Council. So concerns and ideas that were identified by the public, Planning Commission, et cetera, in regards to the draft plan are as follows. We had heard some comments regarding a circulator, a trolley components, possibly the inclusion of the youth bike trolley that operated this summer. Look at Minor Street as a one-way when traffic allows. So a number of people commented on this, including staff, that we felt that Minor Street as a one-way when the final design was constructed, if it was one way during parts of the year, We felt that or a number of people felt that was a better solution than a two-way configuration. This would potentially allow for some parking on one side as well, because the plan does talk about narrowing that street significantly and allowing for a lot more space on sidewalks and outdoor cafes and things. The engineer on the project is assessing that, so hopefully we'll have some more information for you very soon. Ensure future design of Minor Street includes some parking off streets and loading zones. So the concern here was that with the full street blocked off, that there's not always a great place to drop people off or pick people up. You do have the north-south cross streets, and maybe working on identifying some locations where people could be dropped off, picked up there. And then of course, loading zones. Loading, as we all know, is kind of a challenge for a lot of those businesses downtown, especially the food businesses. It seems like getting those vehicles in and being able to unload efficiently. So taking those things into consideration, this plan was brought up. Include space for vendors in alleys. So along Idaho Mall or maybe Central Alley, trying to activate some of those spaces with smaller vendors, and then prioritizing local entrepreneurs in doing so. Camping near downtown, a lot of people brought up that it's challenging for RVs and campers to navigate downtown and find a place to park. A few people even thought that it would be nice to have some form of close by campground. Now that'll be a little bit more of a challenge based on our geographic constraints, but that was one of the comments that we had heard. Additional concerns and ideas identified. Address phasing and construction disruption mitigation for businesses in Meyer Street when Meyer Street is reconstructed. So we're going to look into adding language regarding environmental concerns as an overarching theme. That was something that came out of the Planning Commission. Even though this is a downtown plan, it's effective. It affects the entire community, and so trying to keep a little bit more of a community thought behind it as well. Emphasize goals of getting traffic out of neighborhoods and into businesses. Yeah, so a lot of this has to deal with the circulation of the area. And I think the team really is going to focus on the circulation, especially with the idea of having the mobility hub, the parking garage. I think a lot of the people circulating around the different streets and neighborhoods can be better funneled into that location with some effective signage, when that block is developed. Design character of future housing and parking structure. So putting some thought into what that looks like, trying to make it tie in a little bit better with the community rather than just a concrete structure. Accommodating deliveries, kind of brought that up earlier. Oversized vehicle parking, brought that up earlier too. Saving existing healthy trees, so something that individuals were interested in. This kind of ties into the environmental concerns, trying to ensure that there's some shade in locations, and just the overall beautification of the downtown area. And then activating the parking structure, potentially having something on the roof from time to time. There were a number of ideas as to how things could be activated in a parking garage. Some examples were thrown out from other Colorado municipalities as well. In regards to that first item, the construction disruption, so just being cognizant that to tear up an entire street with businesses on both sides can be quite disruptive, and just noting that if and when that does occur, doing, the contractor and the city doing our best jobs to making sure that we minimize time periods of blocking businesses' entrances, or trying to work with businesses to make sure that they have access to their property for not just them, but for their patrons as well. Concerns and ideas that were identified continued again. What will this plan cost taxpayers? So there were quite a few questions. I think a lot of this dealt with some other issues that were going on in the city at the time as well. Questions about, well, how do we pay for this? So the plan is more of a design and a idealistic drawing of what we'd like to accomplish. And so there is a matrix in the back that does talk about some potential means of paying for some things. But as of right now, there have been no new taxes proposed for implementation to fund the proposed improvement projects. And then the second paragraph goes on to talk a little bit more about the plan does recommend the formation of an entity to manage downtown activities, whether that be a URA or a DDA, and what those different mechanisms can do. One of them would allow for just a tax increment finance. The other would allow for, I believe, tax increment finance, but also property taxes to be levied. So a discussion about that will be in the plan. And then next steps, November, and work on the final plan edits. We're getting close to that. I should hopefully have those tomorrow and be distributing them to the Plan Commission very soon. December, final presentations of Plan Commission and City Council, and then January, get to work. With that, I'd ask if there are any questions.
All right, council, any questions?
I thought that looked really good. I thought the timetable was very reasonable. And I look forward to the implementation.
And I'm glad that we did get some comments back. Is there still comment period, or is that over with?
So the general comment period is over with. However, there will be a chance to comment on the final plan at the Planning Commission will review it in early December here, and then City Council will review it as well on the 13th.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I like it. I think they did a really good job, very thorough. And we know it's going to cost some money to do this. So plans for the future of Idaho Springs, I would say. All right. Anything else? Well, that went by fast. Art's trying to sign on. Let's let him sign on. Art, are you there?
Yeah, just a couple comments. I'm thinking, and I think you covered it, but on that title about save existing trees, I think you were talking about additional new trees that I think needs to go into print as well. And, some kind of a forestry plan, if you will. That sounds a little grandiose, but I think that kind of is what it is. And then I was wondering if there was any kind of analysis about timeframes going forward, and if there's any analysis at all about how many years or whatever this might take. And I know it'd be speculation at this point.
So the matrix at the back of the plan does talk about short, medium, and long-term items that can be done, and it gives a time frame, a proposed time frame for working on those items. No true hard and fast times, as you mentioned, Counselor. It's a little tough for us to do a true set in stone time frame on some of these items.
All right. If we don't have anything else, do we need to sign off and sign back on, Jared? Or just stay right here?
No, I would prefer that you stay here. I think if we do take a few minutes, I would recommend just muting everyone, and it's up to you if you want to leave your camera on, and then we will reconvene in looks like 14 minutes.
Yep. All right. Everybody take a comfort break. I knew Carmen would laugh about that. All right. We'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks, everybody. Hey, Jared, are you there? Art's gonna try to he's gonna sign out and sign back in. He can't get back. He can't get on.
Okay.
Let's
I'll
look.
let him in.
I told him we could see his name up here.
Yeah, I noticed I wasn't the quickest to promote him because I was in the presentation mode. But then once I did, he must have accepted it and popped up.
He said he saw everybody for a couple of seconds and then it went away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Wonder, and Mayor, did you hear from anybody that, they're going on Thanksgiving break or anything this week or something? Do we know of any absences? No, okay. Okay.
Jim Clark was doing a tow and he was
Oh, okay.
somewhere, and he didn't have any reception. He's gonna try to get back down to get on for the regular, but
Well, as you know, Art will give us a quorum. I was just wondering if we knew that folks weren't joining us. So, okay.
oh, so we need Art. I didn't think about that.
Oh, okay. No.
Which you know this, Jared, but maybe Art, if you can hear us, if worst comes to worst for he and his laptop, he could call and, we could promote him as a panelist, even as a caller, but you know that.
Yes.
We're trying, Art.
And Chief Busick will not be with us tonight. Andy won't be with us. Art, are you there? Can you hear us?
Mayor.
I'm gonna try to call him again.
Okay.
Let's see.
Hi, you've reached the phone of Architecture Valley, please.
Well, it went straight to voicemail.
No. Looking at the agenda, Mayor, the one thing I think is time sensitive and John Bordoni might want to weigh in on his request for funds, because I know nothing about the time sensitivity of that under Public Works, but I don't think anything is time sensitive for the remainder of the agenda except for the request. There is a deadline to request a recount from the county, and that is next Tuesday, the 30th. So if we have difficulty meeting here this evening, I think we'd need to maybe have a special meeting before the 30th, but maybe that's Art.
Art, can you hear us? Hello, Art?
Art, if that is you, oh, there we go. I guess you're on mute. Oh,
you-
he was there.
Art, can you unmute and talk to us so we know you're there?
I think he called in and we had him for a second and then it went goodbye.
So John, how time sensitive is your request for action down there on the agenda?
It's nothing that has to absolutely be done tonight. I mean, it could wait until the next council meeting. It's just for approval of installing 3 streetlights in the parking lot.
But we need to get them funds before they put it on the schedule, right?
Correct. It has to be paid before they will put it on schedule.
So maybe a meeting on the 29th? Okay.
Art, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Right. Keep it right
I'll tell
there.
you, this whole thing is screwed up and it's not me. So I'm on the phone and can hear you guys. Or I'm on the computer, I can hear you guys, but I don't see a thing. So you just want me to do the phone and get off the computer?
You probably need to, yes, get off the computer.
And then I think if I do that, there won't be an echo.
Correct.
Right.
Let me try it. Can you hear me now?
Hey, sound good.
Yeah,
That's great.
All right,
Okay,
I'm not
it
gonna
is-
try to get on. I'm gonna save you guys the having to see me on the screen before Thanksgiving anyway. Not a pretty sight, so I'll just stay on the phone for a while.
okay, sounds good, because we need you to make a quorum. That's what we were waiting
Yeah.
on. Okay,
Well, I kind of got that, I just got off the phone with Jimmy too, and he was at Floyd Hill, because I asked him to call in on my behalf if I couldn't get through, so
okay.
that was about 3 minutes ago.
All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and get started at 7:03 on Monday, November 22nd, 2021. This is a regular city council meeting for Idaho Springs City Council. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mike Hillman,
Here.
Bob Boland,
Here,
Chuck Harmon,
Here,
Scott Pennell, Jim Clark, John Curtis, Art Cacavelli.
Here.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we have an agenda in front of us. Does anybody have any additions or comments about that we need to add?
How do you do the pledge, Mayor?
I skipped right over that. All right, please stand for the Pledge of the Allegiance. I pledge the
pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the
to the
flag,
flag, United States of America,
public, which it stands,
and one nation,
One thing.
under God,
Under God.
indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. Thank you for keeping, I was just testing you, Carmen. So now we will move to the agenda. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add? Hearing none, can I have a motion, please?
I'd move to approve the agenda for the November 22nd, 2021 meeting.
And do I have a second?
a
I
second.
I got Art second. Discussion. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Does anybody feel they have a conflict of interest tonight with our agenda? Hearing none. Approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'd move to approve the minutes from November 8th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Art second. All right, discussion. Is there anything in the minutes that we need to clarify or correct? All right, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We'll move down to the bills. Do I have a motion?
I'd move to approve the bills to November 22nd, 2021.
Do I have a second? Bob is
I
second.
second.
Thank you. And discussion. Is there any questions on the bills that we need to
I
have?
have nothing, Mayor. Just let you know up front.
Art's trying to get me through this meeting pretty quick. All
I
right.
am.
All right. Anybody else? Any questions? And can I have roll call, please?
Mike Hillman,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes,
Chuck Harmon,
Yes,
Scott Pennell, Jim Clark, John Curtis, Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have any unscheduled public comment?
Yes, you do. Sadie Schultz would like to make unscheduled public comment.
Okay. Do we have Sadie with us? Okay, Sadie?
Yes, we do. I'm promoting her to panelist.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. All right.
Thank
State your,
you.
yeah, state your name, where do you reside, Sadie? Oh. Go ahead.
Sadie, can you state your name and where you reside, please, for the record?
Sure. My name is Sadie Schultz and I reside in Blackhawk, Colorado.
All right. You got 3 minutes, Sadie.
Awesome. Hi, Council and Mayor-elect Harmon. I wanted to say thank you guys for all of the effort that this council has put forth into the improvements in the Minor Street District over the past year to 2 years. It really has made a massive impact to the business owners and the business owner community, and all of your hard work is really appreciated. And I wanted to again say from my perspective as a business owner, how much I appreciate your guys' hard work and dedication to the business owners, the residents, and the visitors of Idaho Springs. And speaking in regards to my role as the president of the Idaho Springs Marketing Alliance, I wanted to say thank you guys for your consideration of our funds requests. I also wanted to say that we plan on asking for some more direct asks in the next year. We would love to continue to partner with the city of Idaho Springs and the business owners to continue to directly market and create wonderful experiences for our visitors and residents in Idaho Springs. I also want to say that the ISMA has started to reach out to the Chamber of Commerce to gain partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. We're working very hard to build and partner those two organizations together to help create a united front in our business leadership community. So again, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for all of your time, hard work, and effort and dedication to our community. Everything you guys have done has made such a massive impact in our community. In a time where we really could have been faltering and failing, we've been striving, thriving, and continuing to grow. And that's really all of your guys' hard work and dedication. So from a business owner in your community, I wanted to give you my heartfelt thanks and continue to tell you that I'm committed from a business leadership standpoint from working together with you guys. So thank you. That's it.
And I would say thank you for your comments, Sadie, and thank you for all you've done promoting and helping, taking the lead role down there and getting people together. So thank you so much for the comments. Okay, next we will hear from our city attorney, Carmen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You have in your packet, unusually, 2 items under my heading. This is exciting for me. And the first is you see under the agenda, discussion and possible action on city treasurer vacancy. On both items under my heading, Mayor and Council, there are brief 1-page memos in your packet. The first memo concerning the impending vacancy in the office of treasurer advises you that the treasurer-elect, Ms. Adams, Ms. Phyllis Adams, the individual who won at the recent election, the office of treasurer, is declining the position effective immediately. And she informed you by letter earlier this month of her intention and plans not to appear to take the oath. Since the packet was put together, at least my materials for the packet and this meeting tonight, results of the election have indeed been certified by the county. So, and those were certified in the afternoon of Thursday, the 18th. So today, Mayor and Council, is actually your first business meeting after the election results are certified. And today, this meeting is the one at which Ms. Adams would have presented herself to be sworn into the office of treasurer. So as of today, November 22nd, pardon me, November 22nd, I believe you now have everything you need to declare the office of treasurer vacant as of today. And as you know from previous experience, and as you can tell from the memo I wrote you, you have a couple of options. You have 60 days now from today, I believe that is measured. From today, you have 60 days to either appoint someone or order a special election to have the city electors select a new treasurer. The manner in which you do that is entirely up to you. There's no statute that requires you to advertise a certain way, or to advertise at all, quite frankly. It is entirely up to you. But I now think you could act if you wanted to fill that office, advertise for letters, seek letters of interest, whatever you think are the next responsible steps.
Right? Any questions on that? Council? Okay,
Here, I would just respectfully suggest that since Diane Brees was the only other a person here in our city to express an interest in the this now vacant position, I would recommend that we appoint her if she's willing to take this task on as well.
and we don't really need a motion. We just need a consensus, right?
I would ask, Mayor, that because you are sort of acting to fill a vacancy as a group, I would ask if you are choosing to appoint someone this evening, that you do that by motion. Yes, please.
I make a motion that we appoint Diane Brees to fill the elected treasurer position for the city of Idaho Springs. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right, motion and second, discussion.
To be very clear, just to the public and Ms. Breeze, if she's watching, and everybody, whoever you appointed, and if it is Diane, she will hold this office until the next regular election, 2 years only. It's kind of a weird thing because it would have been a 4-year office and term. However, because she's coming in from the bullpen, she's only gonna serve until the next municipal election in 2023. So just to be clear.
All right, any other clarification or any other discussion? Can I have roll call, please?
Mike Hillman,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Sorry, Bob, we couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Art Cacavelli,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Scott Pennell, Jim Clark, John Curtis. Thank you.
Right, motion passes. We will inform Diane Brees that whether she likes it or not, we have now appointed her to the elected treasurers. Hey, wait a minute, she ran for it, right? So,
So did Ms. I mean, you could get another letter, but we hope not.
okay. Item B under city attorney, Carmen.
I won't rehash this. You've seen this in the packet. Wanda mentioned it in her staff memo as well. As you know, that the difference in votes on the failed ballot question 2B, which is the question concerning the sales tax increase to be dedicated to water and wastewater improvements, that failed by a mere 2 votes, and that remained the case after certification. So a recount of that failed ballot question is not mandatory. However, it is optional if the city wishes, you council, if the city council wishes to request that. We as a city would pay for that recount. Clerk, I think Corbett is her name. She estimated that it was about $1,000. It would be. It's outlined in my memo, but basically if you want to request a recount, we do that by filing a notarized letter, which your motion would direct the mayor to request that, and we'd have Wanda notarize it. We'd send it to the county. If they within a day say, hey, we need $1,032.55 from you, the day after that, we send them our certified fund check. And then they have until December 9 to complete that task, to complete the recount. It's entirely up to you, council, if you want to do that. So that's what staff is asking for tonight, your direction on whether you want to formally request that. If you do, there is a suggested motion on your agenda.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I would move to approve a motion to formally request the county clerk and recorder to conduct a recount of failed city of Idaho Springs ballot question 2B in parentheses sales tax increase dedicated to water/wastewater improvement.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion and second, discussion, and I'll go first. As I said in our last meeting, I felt that this ballot measure is important enough to all of it. Citizens, businesses, employees that don't live in our city limits. And for $1,000, I'm willing to spend that money and hope that there was a miscount by two votes, really 3 votes, right, Carmen? We'd have to have 3 votes. We've, as council, thought through very respectfully to figure out a way to help offset the ever so high increases that we've had with our water and wastewater. And with the 24% on the sewer side and 6% on the water side, I believe Chuck said it the other day, I think it averaged out across the board about 18%. And I feel that this is important enough to our community that I think it's important that we get this recount done, and hopefully the outcome changes. Anybody else?
Well, I agree with you 100% as far as getting the recount, Mayor. I think I can't not believe that the 281 or whatever was opposed understood what was going on. I really didn't. And I saw an article where you were interviewed in the Courier. I believe it was too late as far as the vote was concerned. I'm not sure. I don't remember the date, but you explained it thoroughly. If someone would read that article, I think people would change their minds very quickly. So my long story short, I agree with you. Yes.
All right.
I'm even.
Art, I wholeheartedly agree with you, and there's too much riding on this. We need to be sure and try to give the citizens some relief that they deserve. And I'm all for spending the 1,000 or 1,500 to confirm this and just make sure that we have found 3 votes somewhere.
Anybody else like to weigh in? All right, with that, can I have roll call, please?
Oh, Mike Hillman,
Yes.
Bob Bolins,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli,
Yes.
Scott Pennell, Jim Clark, John Curtis. Thank you.
All right, motion passes. We're going to get a recount done. I truly believe that Wonder and Carmen will be working on this to make sure that we get that into our county clerk and recorder in a timely manner. And I don't know how long it takes them to recount those votes. Do they have 10 days, Carmen? Is that
Actually, I haven't until December 9, Mayor. I think the sooner we get it to them, the sooner they'll do it. They won't wait till the last minute. I don't think so. We'll get that letter into them, that notarized letter ASAP. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, thanks, council. We will now move down to our ordinance second reading. Can I get a motion, please?
I'd move to approve ordinance number 19, series 2021, an ordinance forming the historic downtown parking, transportation and mobility special improvement district, parentheses, SID, Sid.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Got Bob second. All right, discussion yet? Discussion, Jared?
I just wanted to inform council that we do have several other members of the business community here with us this evening. And if you wish to hear any comment, I can promote them to panelists.
I wish we would have done that under scheduled public comment. How many do we have?
We have 3 additional.
3 additional or 3 to speak?
I don't know if they want to speak. They are here at least.
See if any of them would like to. We should have done that under, this is really not, this isn't a public hearing. So
I do have one hand raised. If you
okay, if it's just one, we can hear from that one.
just 1 minute, please.
Is Mary Jane the one?
Yes.
All right. Go ahead, Mary Jane.
Surprise, surprise. Well, just because I believe so much in this special improvement district and the potential of what it can do for the city and the many partners that we have, and understanding that we're not putting a number on private businesses at this point. All this is a vote to actually form this district to do something, as we did back in the 90s to improve the downtown. And I think it's very important that the city allow us to form this special improvement district. And again, there's no number attached to it. It's just that the property owners want to make this happen.
All right. Thank you, Mary Jane. All right. Discussion council.
I have a couple questions, if I may. I'm looking at this sign-off sheet. That's for the business owners that want the district. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's not the
Well,
business, it's the property.
It's the property owners.
The property owners, Art.
not the business owners. So
Correct.
the property owners,
Not the
the
business owners.
property owners can make decisions that the businesses will have to go along with, even if they're opposed to it.
Yes, that is correct. They don't have any say so over what happens, especially if an assessment's going to be on a property. It's the property owners, not the business owners.
Okay, and so the reason I see duplicates and triplicates as far as signatures, that's because they own a multitude of properties at the particular address. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, and Jared's is raising his hand and he'd like to speak. Jared?
That is correct. In addition to that, one of the pages was the original page, and then there are basically out for signatures a second round, and so you might see some duplicates on there.
And the reason that they sign for multiple properties is because if and when there's an assessment, these property owners are going to have to pay for each of their 22 linear frontage. So just like they did back in the 90s, they put it together the same principle as that.
So then one assume is Mary Jane still on the or Bob?
I'm
can
still
answer
here,
it.
Art. If you have a question, I'm still here.
Well, I do, and it's probably my lack of knowledge that creates the question, but if you as a property owner gets and you voted in yourself to pay more property taxes, will that not be handed down to the business guy through his rent or fees?
It could potentially, Art, but I have to tell you, I'd love to sit down with you and talk about what we did in the 90s and how that increased our property values and increased the property values for the city. You can't even believe what the quality of businesses that we had in the community back then compared to now. And I'm not denigrating what we had back then, but yes, our high quality of businesses that we have in the community now is only going to get better. And I'm a pretty benign landlord. And I think if you asked any of my tenants,
Hey, yeah,
Go ahead.
I don't think that's
I
part of
don't
this
need to say it.
conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not part of this.
but Art, yes,
I'm
we
sorry.
the
Well, I
owners
asked
of the
the question. I
properties
didn't
pay.
Okay. So are there property owners that are on Minor Street that didn't sign off on this possibly?
Yes, there are property owners that did not sign off on it. Jared?
Mayor, would you know approximately what number we're talking?
Jared?
Yes, so we do have over 60% of the property owners' signatures on the letters that you see before you. I believe we have a fair amount more than that. Statutorily, we only need 50%. the business community that sought out these that sought out the signatures, because this is an independent group, they received a substantial number of signatures. So over 60%, their goal was over 60%.
Okay, so say 62%, meaning we probably got 38% that said no, possibly. I mean, you know, whatever the difference between 60 and 100 is, we've got a negative, whatever that number is percent-wise. Would that be correct?
Now say that again, Art.
No.
Well, if we have, let's just round the numbers out.
I'm gonna reel
60
this
said
back
yeah,
in.
40 said 40 didn't, 40% didn't agree, right? Or didn't, or 62% signed on, 38% did not. Was that a fair assumption?
That is a fair assumption, yes.
Okay.
I'm not
Now,
gonna,
is it,
no more comments from our public tonight on this. Go ahead, Art.
is it property owners in addition to Minor Street, like some of the side streets, as I'll call them? Are those property owners going to be in this district and be required to go, you know, possibly raise, you know, get their property taxes raised as well?
Well, here's the deal, Art. Nobody knows what that assessment's going to be. Even these 65% that signed on, if the assessment's too high, it can still get voted down. If it's $5,000 per 22 feet, you'll probably have the majority of the property owners say no. So just because that we're here to accept the bid that the community has asked us to form, or the downtown property owners have asked us to support and vote yes for, but until the assessment is done, there's not any vote, and those 68% can turn the other way, and it could be an absolute no, because I do believe that will be a threshold that the assessment could be too high, and it could turn some property owners off on this issue.
And excuse my ignorance, who makes that assessment?
That is going to be the property owners. Will we have a number of what the participation from the property owners will be. I don't have the number of those properties right now, but we have $2 million that needs to be covered by the property owners for the transit center.
$2 million.
And it has to be based also on if they have to do a bond or a loan, you know, what's that interest rate going to be? Because that will deflect one way or the other on what that payment would be.
Councilor
So-
Giacovelli, if you remember in September of this year, which is a while ago, I sent to mayor and council sort of a basic overview of this process, and I'd be happy to send that to you again. Sort of from beginning to end, from district formation to the final assessment, what are the steps that it entails? And it's a multi-step process. Forming the SID is step number one. And then if indeed the property owners petition for a particular improvement, then council obtains the bids and does some cost estimates for that particular improvement, and adopts a preliminary order about what those numbers would be for a particular improvement. Then you have a process at council and a hearing on that. Notice to all the property owners and residents in the district goes out, and they can come on the preliminary order and the preliminary cost estimate and the preliminary number crunching of a particular improvement and what that would look like. And then after that, you conduct a hearing on that. And if you, as council, approve a particular petitioned project that the district owners and residents have petitioned for, that's when the ordinance authorizing the project gets adopted. The construction contracts, bids are sought, contracts are let, final numbers are indeed determined, and a statement of costs or an assessment roll would then be prepared on the actual costs. A hearing is held on that. Folks have an opportunity at that point to object on those concrete costs. And then The council has the opportunity after hearing on that proposed assessment roll and statement of cost to approve that. Each of sort of the steps along this process are fully public. And folks who are interested would have the opportunity to comment again as things move along. But I'd be happy to, again, send that memo to you, to all council, actually. Or I'm happy to help clarify.
I would appreciate it because I'm sure I have it, but it'd be quicker for you to send it to me rather than me find it. But you mentioned residents in your comments just now. Are the residents in any way have exposure to the property taxes increase that the business owners would vote for?
Not unless they own one of those properties.
Correct.
This is
Correct.
Okay, and is it just properties on Minor Street? There's properties that a couple of them anyway that are on side streets that really don't benefit from our sales from our tourism. Would they be burdened with this property tax as well?
Do you have the map that's in the packet?
Yes, I was just fixing to say, we have a map in our packet, Art, that would show where the district lines are. I'm trying to find it here.
I'm operating in a very tight space here, so give me a minute.
There's not only a map, Art, but there's also a description of each property as well in our packet.
Okay, well, I can't seem to find it here. Okay, here we go. So I see Minor Street, and I see all the yellow, which is the commercial. That's the people that we're referring to as far as that would vote yes or no. Voted yes or no for the special district, correct?
No,
Up and down Minor Street.
Yellow, Art, is the properties that are included, commercial parcels that will be included in the district.
Okay, well, my question is, I see one on the other side of what they call Center Alley. I don't know what business it is. It's down on 16th and Center Alley. I'm wondering what that business is and how that business would prosper or not prosper from any being in this district. Same with 15th Street, also on the other side of Central Alley. I don't know what businesses they are, but I don't see why they would be asked to be part of this district, depending on what type of businesses they are.
Jared?
What I'm getting at is there's some businesses on those side streets that get no beneficial revenue, in my opinion, from tourists.
Jared?
How it's been relayed to me is that there are a number of locations, whether they benefit currently or not, they do stand the chance of potentially benefiting in the future. So for instance, one of the items is one of the properties is proposed to become a new hotel, and they do not have any on-street parking. And so the construction of a parking garage could certainly assist in their functions. There are a couple other buildings that are north of Center Alley that if they did change use, they would really struggle with parking. And that's one of the reasons why it's been conveyed to me why they were included.
Okay, can you tell me though, from your knowledge, the one that's on 15th and north of Center Alley and the one that's on 16th north of Center Alley, do either one of those fall into your description that you just gave us?
Yes, I believe so.
So none of them are of a retail of any kind or a business of any kind that have nothing to do with tourism?
So at this point in time, they, one of them will in the future certainly deal with tourism. The other two, I believe you're referencing, at this point in time may not deal with tourism. However, there's also what as Attorney Berry mentioned, in the next step of actually levying any cost associated or attributed to being paid into the SID by a business or property owner, there would have to be some internal equity for who pays how much. And that's something that I believe the business community is going to work on and then bring that back to city council. So we understand that not every business is made the same right now. Or excuse me, the SID group does.
Jim, you had something to add? Carmen, it's okay to go ahead and take comments from Jim, even though he wasn't here for roll call?
Yes,
Okay,
I
just wanted to make
did.
sure. I've never had it like that, so I wanted to make sure it's okay.
We'll let him slide. And by the way, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Mayor. Hi, Jim. Welcome. And wonder, I glanced at my clock when Councilor Clark showed up. It was about 7:22 p.m. for your notes and your minutes. So welcome, Councilor Clark. What do you got?
Thank you. Is it normal to make this proposal prior to the money side of it, of what it would cost each and every? It is. I see Mike shake, Mayor Hillman shaking his head, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I didn't know that was in fact the process. Seems backwards to me, like you'd want to put it all grouped up and then present it, but
I know.
just to avoid the.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Clark. I was going to say it's sort of like getting pre-qualified for a loan without knowing what house you're going to buy yet, right? Sort of getting your ducks in a row so you can pull the trigger on that house when you figure out.
Makes sense. Well put. Okay.
Yeah, because if they only gotten 3 signatures, it would have probably been dead in the water.
Sure.
We remembered, it was either 2 or 4 weeks ago, we postponed this ordinance because I felt that we didn't have enough signatures to present to council. So I asked for it to be postponed to this week so that they could go back to the property owners and actually get more signatures, Jim.
Okay. Was it, this sticks in my mind as the $2,000 mark for the linear footage. Is that correct?
And that's what they've been talking about, but per 22 linear feet. So if you own 3 buildings that are 22 or 66 feet, that's 3 times the assessment cost. And
correct.
The city is not putting this together. This is what the SID, that group, will put together. It will not be the city assessing anybody. They will have to come up once they know if it's passed or not. They will group themselves together and understand it. And the city is not assessing them. They're assessing themselves. They're volunteering to pay an additional tax to pay for for their portion of the transit center.
And I'm correct, this is for 20 years. Yes.
That still hasn't been determined either.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's still all being juggled around. Nobody, like I said, if it comes back, all of a sudden it's it's $4,000 per 22 feet. I could guarantee you're going to have the majority of the folks say, "Whoa, wait a minute," and especially over a 20-year period, that would get really expensive for them. So, and we understand that. Yep. Jared?
Mayor and Carmen, thank you for the explanation.
You're welcome. Jared, you had something else?
I just wanted to mention that no money or timeline has been finalized at all. There's been a lot of discussion about such things, but nothing final has been brought to us.
Well, then my question is, if there's so many loose ends, why can't we wait to vote on this ordinance when it's more defined?
Because the SID needs to be formed before they can really start doing anything else. This is just the step-by-step, as Carmen was mentioning, the steps that have to be done before they can start coming. They have an idea what it's gonna be, but they don't have a solid number. They're hoping less. Like I said, if it's 3% interest and they have to borrow the money, that payment's going to be much higher than a half or a quarter or 1%. So until that's determined, the amount that they need and how they're going to come up with that money. We'll
And if for some reason they decide, if they decide not to increase, property taxes, how does that affect, the parking, project? Because isn't this in part being done to facilitate, the parking project?
Well, I've said before, Art, that I feel the property owners need to have skin in the game. If they said we're not going to put in anything, I won't be on council, but I would think the council would have to look at the whole program different, because all of a sudden that dumps another $2 million on the city, where the city is going to have to come up with 4 million or 4.5 million to cover their end, and no participation from our property owners. And it's still not too late. I have talked about doing a downtown parking district, where we say, you know what, every property owner down here is going to pay for using our parking lot. Nobody pays for it right now. And that could still be a factor to say, instead of this being an assessment, we're going to let you be in our parking district. And then we would come up with some kind of formula to say that 20 feet pays X amount to our parking district. You use our parking lot to generate revenues for your business. The city needs something to help maintain those parking lots. We don't get anything right now. We stripe them, we overlay them, we clean them up, we do everything, but it's all on the city's back. Does that make sense, Art?
Well, yeah, I don't disagree. Maintenance of a parking garage, new or not, I mean, of course, when it's not, it's very high maintenance cost. And it's something that's got to be considered.
Well, believe me, we know about that. We have that part of the program plugged into the whole program. We know that there's going to be O&M, operation and maintenance costs throughout. Once it gets built, we're going to have money set aside and revenues generated for operation and maintenance of that facility.
And that we're charging for that parking garage, right? I mean, it's not free parking. It's going to be a paid parking garage. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is
So
that what's
we have no idea what the structure of that. Of course, once we figure that this is all going to start happening, which I'm sure that it will, then we'll have to go back to the drawing board and see what the cost of those parking stalls, what the city needs to be charging for those to cover our end of or to cover the whole end of operation O&M and our end of the parking structure as well.
Okay, well, that all makes sense, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.
So Mayor, my understanding tonight is we really don't know if the SID goes anywhere or not. It just gives the downtown businesses authority to form one.
That is correct. Yes. That's it. There's no number, no linear frontage. There's nothing attached to that. It's just that the city council tonight will vote on, will they allow the downtown property owners form the SID? They have to have our blessing for that.
But when it's formed, they become an independent entity.
That is
To a
correct.
point.
Yes.
Okay.
Jared, did you have anything else?
I just also wanted to mention that in a couple of Councilor Cacavelli's questions regarding some of the properties, for instance, that hotel did sign the letter. Their signature is there. They wanted to be involved. So some of them do want to be involved too.
Okay, but do we have an exemption for the ones that are on those side streets that businesses are just not part of the tourist revenue? Could they opt out? And then,
another thing that's been talked about, Art, is when the assessments start going in, to take those types of businesses and basically put an impact number on it, 1 through 10. What does this, how does this business impact our parking? If it's a one-man counselor, they have a 1 or 2 patients that come in every other day or every day, their impact on our parking is not like a Tommy Knockers or a Bojo's or a Mountain Prime.
Right.
So that has also been discussed, is looking at an impact, and how does each property impact the parking? And that could sway that those businesses may not have to pay in as much, or the other properties may have to pay in a little more. But that's up to the CID. That's not up to the city of Idaho Springs to be doing that. That's going to be the group, the CID and its formation to identify that.
I understand. It just seems to me like we're giving a lot of power to people, and then we have no control over it, and to defend people who don't want to be involved in it. And it seems like a tough situation to me. Okay, I've taken enough time. I thank you everyone for their comments and explanations. You've all been great, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Art. Anybody else, council discussion? All right, we're going to go to a vote. Wonder, roll call.
Sorry.
Mike
Wonder,
Hillman. Oh,
Yes.
I wonder, sorry, we did get a motion in a second. I just want to be real sure, because that was
Yes.
like a half an hour ago. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We did.
yes.
Thank you, Carmen.
Roll call.
Yes, please.
Mike Hillman,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
yes.
Art Cacavelli,
No.
Jim Clark.
No.
All right, 3-2, motion passes. All right, we will move down to, we don't have John with us tonight. Andy put in his staff report for us to read through. Deputy Clerk, that's you, Wonder. What do you have for us?
Mayor and council, you have my staff report in front of you. Just things I've been up to and such things. Let's see, Carmen already spoke of the certified results from the county clerk. I have been assisting in organizing the city employee Christmas party, which will be on December 16th at Tommyknocker Brewery from 5 to 7. Heavy Horse Divorce. Employees and their immediate families are all invited. I've blasted out that invitation to most everybody's email. It'll also be in the next pay stubs too. I do ask that you guys are RSVP with me by December 10th, possible. You have October sales tax numbers in my packet, the invitations in my packet. Safe building permit report is attached. There were 13 building permits issued in October. Also, Ann Zimmerman and Doug Smith have both filed letters of interest to serve another term on the variance board. Attorney Carmen Berry has told me that I'm able to do that at the next variance board meeting. Carmen, that's correct?
You can swear them in, Wonder. All you need council to do tonight is to appoint them. I'm glad you highlighted that. One small note. I noted, and I appreciate this, Wonder, you included sort of a roster of board and commissioner terms in the packet. Did you all get that? Okay.
Yes.
As you can see, we have fallen out of the sort of schedule set by our code on the staggered terms. So I would highly recommend we get back on that. And so if council is so inclined to appoint Mr. Smith and Ms. Zimmerman to the variance board, I would recommend that you appoint them for terms that expire on February 28th of 2025. I don't know, I think we've fallen maybe into a practice of appointing people for 4 years, no matter when they get appointed. And we really should, just like you guys on council, we should run their terms sort of as the code requires to certain dates. So let's get back on that cycle if we can.
And we're also going to have a planning commission seat to fill after the first of the year as well. So, okay, with that, do I have a motion?
Mayor, I'm sorry, I just did want to clarify here on the request for action. It's recommended, it says a move to appoint Ann Zimmerman and Douglas Smith. I assume it means to an additional term on the city's variance board to end February 28th, 2025. Would that
That's perfect.
All right.
Do I have a second? I say that was good enough for the motion, Chuck. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. All right, roll call, please.
Mike Hillman,
Yes.
Bob Bolins,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli,
yes,
Jim Clark,
Yes,
Scott Pennell, John Curtis, Bob Bolin. Did I say Bob already?
Yeah, you already did, Bob.
Okay.
All right, motion passes. We're gonna allow Ms. Zimmerman and Mr. Smith to continue additional term. All right, also Chief Busick is out for the holiday with his staff report. And then we'll move down to Public Works, Streets and Parks and Public and Water and Wastewater. John?
Mayor and council, you have my staff report before you. I just have one request for action for the funding for 3 street lights in the main parking lot along the former Water Street between 15th and 16th.
All right. And do I have a motion?
I move to approve $18,113.18 to Excel Energy for parking lot light installation from line number 21-00-6028.
Do I have a second?
I second,
Thank you, Art. All right, discussion?
Nice looking streetlights.
Street lights, and as in John's staff report, these are ones that Excel took them out when they did the work of the parking lot. And lo and behold, they said that, guess what? City, y'all have to find somebody to replace, so we're not putting them back up. So that's kind of how we got in this position that that we're having to pay for them to be put up. And the lights that we had back there, they just do not like that parking lot up enough. I felt that when you had workers and management and our visitors walking out to their car after dark, it was a dangerous situation. So I'm glad to finally see that that we've got these going. So I need any other comment? Roll call.
Mike Hillman,
Yes.
Bob Bolin,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Jim Clark,
yes,
Art Cacavelli,
yes,
Scott Pennell, John Curtis. Thank you.
All right. Do we have somebody from Scraps of Soil with us, or we do? Okay. Our next item on our or any questions for John? He's the only department head. Anybody have any questions for John? You got the snow plows on, ready to go?
No, we're gonna put the flower tank back on, I think, this year.
I know if it keeps going like this, we'll just need to get some more flowers and water them. You're right.
That's true.
Thanks, John. We'll move down. Every year we have Scraps of Soil and come in and kind of give us an update on what's going on. And I believe we have Chris Slaymaker with us. Hi, Chris. And we'll give you a few minutes to walk through what y'all are doing and what you've done and where we're headed.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Glad the technology is working like it's supposed to. I'm Chris Slaymaker. I am the current president of Scraps of Soil, and this is our annual report to let you know there is a community garden. It is up and running and working. This year, we were really working on not having the garden run just by the board members, but we're really trying to empower those who rent garden plots to be able to run the garden themselves with minimal help, or ways where they don't have to constantly be calling myself or one of the other board members to make something happen. So that's been one of our larger goals this year. The other big part, so it's getting the garden running smoothly, letting the gardeners themselves do most of the running of the garden, and finishing phase 2 of the reconstruction project. And just as kind of a quick reminder that phase 2, the garden hit full functionality in 2020 and 2021. A lot of it is decorative. So that have been our big goals. And then the final touches will go on the garden space in the 2022 season. And I'm doing my best not to read through the whole report, since you all have that in your packets and you can read for yourself. The biggest thing, all 20 plots were in use this season. We still are working how to deal when gardeners abandon plots and they're not doing a good job communicating with Scraps to Soil, or the communication lines are not as well done. As things were this year, Scraps to Soil essentially took over the management of the plots just to make sure there wasn't a mess in there. Gardeners also did we had a much better job of gardeners helping with things like weeding, with helping with the maintenance, and there's a much higher participation rate from plot renters, just helping with the general everyday of the running. So that's going well. As per our contract with the city, we have been able to find 50% of the plot renters do live within the Idaho Springs city limits. The other area I noticed we get a lot of plot renters from is Alice, St. Mary's, and Fall River Road. So we're really doing a nice service, not only for the residents of Idaho Springs who are in city limits, but for other Clear Creek County residents. Just having that lower elevation to grow stuff at can really help a lot of people. And our rental fees were down just a little bit this year. And that's because one was for a scholarship, and Scraps to Soil just put the bill for that scholarship, so we didn't get the $75 that we would usually get. And another gardener really stepped up and took on a plot that the person who signed up for it kind of went MIA. So one of the gardeners who was already there took on a second plot and really helped us out that way. We were also awarded a decent grant from NARGS, which I want to say is the National Association for Rock Gardening. And with that grant, we were able to put quite a bit of money into working on the eastern edge of the garden and shoring up the strawberry patch area and building our rock and crevice garden. And then again, on our expenses, insurance is always good to have. We are always needing to add some gardening supplies here. So it's things like getting a new hose when a hose dies, new, now I can't remember the word I want to use, but the new squirters on the hose, there we go. So things of that, getting some extra plants for the beautification of the rock garden area, and specifically native plants, so it won't take any more water. And then our water bill it's going to be about $700 for the active watering season. We did discover some leaks in the line. Those are fixed. I don't think it'll be quite as high next year. And just and Scraps to Soil pays all of the water, but one other area that I think there might be some extra water usage is we have some chronic overwaterers in the garden. So really helping gardeners to pick just the right amount of water to keep the plants alive, but enough to keep the water bill down. So that's always going in there. About over half the gardeners are intending to come back to the next season. So that's good to know. And in February is when we'll have the registration for returning gardeners. Around March 1st is when we'll open it up to the public. I'm sorry, April 1st is when the general public, so any of those plots that are not already rented for the 2022 season will go out to the public. And about May 15th is when the garden will open for the 2021 season. And we picked that second week of May because that's getting about when it is safe to turn the water on and not have the lines freeze. Oh, I think I looked at it this backwards. And just so you know, leadership in 2021, I am the Scraps to Soil president. I also have been heading up the garden. I hope that can start moving that off to somewhere else. Uchi Cruzalegi and Margie Marlin did a really good job coordinating the building of the rock garden. Peach and Dan Keller, one of our plot renting teams, they really took some leadership on maintenance and helped with that. And I'd also like to thank Alicia Myers for coordinating a Wednesday night weeding. So we found that program to be very successful. just so you know, as 2022 happens, we're going to be able to install all of our large garden signs. All the signs were approved by the Planning Commission in 2020. So we'll get there. We'll keep landscaping, we'll keep that beautification up. And then we are hoping to finally get some fruit trees in on the east end of the garden. Just areas of improvement is still finding the best way for communication between Scraps to Soil and plot renters. We did better this year. We're still working the kinks out there. And we'll put that out there. Another issue that we know still needs improvement is communication between Scraps to Soil and our next door neighbors to the east, the Mountain Medicinals Dispensary. And one step taken towards addressing that communication issue is myself and Uchi sat down with Andy Marsh and Kelsey Collins, who represented Mountain Medicinals, to create an official communication lines, and hopefully this will go hopefully that will go smoother next season. And Scraps to Soil, the board has voluntarily come up with a plan to restrict growing of sunflowers and corn in plots 1 through 4. And we have found some gardeners who are willing, there are some plot renters coming back who would be willing to take some extra rules on their plot that we're not asking of anyone else in the garden. And ideally, we'd love to have more community gardeners take on bigger leadership roles. We had a good start this season, so that's happening. And we would like to get a little bit more codified way for gardeners to just document that their volunteer work and time, because we think our plots are very affordable prices. So what really helps making it worth that is that volunteer work to go with it. And our other big goal is just providing educational social events and more programming at the garden. Since we've reopened in 2020, COVID's the first year, nobody quite knew what to do with the COVID going on. This year, COVID was not quite as in the forefront, so it was practicing running the garden smoothly. And next year, we really have that vision of being able to finally have our official garden reopening party, and maybe something like some educational components like a story time in the garden or some gardening workshops. So that is where we are hoping to head in the next year. I also attached some fun pictures for your enjoyment, so you can see some of the work being done on the east end of the garden, building that up, building native plants and cool squashes and marigolds that got grown in the garden. If you have any questions, let me know.
All right, thank you, Chris, for giving us an update. Anybody have any questions for Chris? All right, y'all keep up with the good work over there. It looks great. Thank you so much. All right, council, with that, unless anybody has anything else, call meeting adjourned at 8:04. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much, or do eat too much so you can go on a diet, and just enjoy the time. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
See you later. Thanks, Chris.
Thanksgiving.